My lords, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome back to Transport Fever 2 and the Passenger Only series. In our previous episode, we did some work with the main line. We expanded it to reach the city of Poole. That involved us bridging over the river that we have that divides the northern and southern sections of this map. We then rerouted our trains to incorporate the new station as part of their running orders. So we now have passenger uptake in the city of Poole, and it seems to be going pretty well so far. Before we do anything else, we will of course take a quick look at the station in Poole and just see how things are going over there. All of our lines continue to make us decent money. In the cab ride at the end of the last episode, you probably noticed that there was some issues with the tunnel textures at one point as we were travelling from Carlisle up to Poole. I have rectified those as best as I can. The tunnel no longer splits into two separate tunnels at the midway point, but there are still a few issues in various areas where there's some sort of tearing on the tunnel texture. However, my main concern was removing the sections of tunnel where, for one reason or another, they opted to split into two separate tunnels for each track. As I said, that has now been taken care of, so I do apologise for that. I hadn't noticed it during the construction phase, and it was only when I was recording the cab ride outro that I stumbled across it. But as I said, all has been rectified now. So let's bring up the user interface. Cash flow is healthy at over 20 million over a rolling 12-month period, and in the bank we're sitting on $150 million. I forgot to pause the calendar last time out during the cab row. There were a few unlocks, but I don't think there was anything too exciting, so I apologise for that. I will make sure we do pause it in future. Okay, so let's first of all head up to Poole as discussed, and we can see we have a decent amount of people waiting to take the main line. The destination split is relatively even, with Lowestoft being the most popular destination, followed not too closely by Carlisle, then Thurrock, and of course Hull then is the least popular destination, likely because it's so far away. Now, as I discussed in the previous episode, before we do any further mainline extension, the next stop would be Dunstable, just for reference. We are going to do some more work on the local services in this southern section of the map, especially focused in Sheffield, where at the moment there are no connections whatsoever, so we really want to tap into that. And providing that passenger link will enable Sheffield to grow. What we could also do to stimulate even further growth is give them a road connection to Lowestoft, Carlisle, potentially Rugby and Thurrock as well. Likewise, we could do the same with Leeds, which doesn't have a road connection at present. We could connect it to both Carlisle and Staveley. However, I'd rather focus on our transportation efforts first of all. They should be the priority, of course. So let's get started right away with a station here in Sheffield. And I'm going to demolish that stretch of road there. And our station itself is going to be tagged onto this bit of street right here. Because it will have no other destinations to the west, we will go ahead and use the terminus station for this, and we will go for our standard setup here. So there we go. So let's connect the station to the town. Somewhere around there should work quite nicely. And before they go ahead and rebuild in this area, we'll lay down our tracks for the approach and departure from the station. That way we're not going to have to worry about them building in the way, and then we're struggling with things such as level crossings, bridges, that sort of thing. So I'm going to keep these tracks straight for a minute as well, and the simple reason is it will make putting in the gantry for the signals a lot easier if these are straight and parallel. I think that was what was causing us issues at some of our previous stations. So this way we should be ready to go for the gantries as soon as we have everything set up and connected. So the first thing we'll do is bring into play platforms 3 and 4 over here, like so. We could just use a double slip switch there to open everything up, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, we're going to have a series of staggered merge points. And let's have a look here. So we'll simulate a train departing the station. Platform 1 can get out, platform 2 cannot, platform 3 can get out, and platform 4 can also get out. So to enable platform 2 to get out, we want a very simple extra crossing point just there. And now we'll do the same from trains approaching the station. So we can get onto platform 4, we can get onto platform number 3, we can get onto platform number 2, but we don't have access to platform number 1. I think for this time we will go ahead with a diamond just there. I've been trying to avoid them, and that has been intentional. I know that isn't everybody's cup of tea, but having a myriad of styles for approaches to these stations I think makes it a tad more realistic. So that's my logic here. Anyway, we now have all 4 platforms open for approach and departure, so we can now worry about getting this track here connected into our existing network at some point. So the first thing we shall do is cross through this mountainside here using a tunnel, and hopefully the tunnel decides to play nice in today's episode, but we shall see. And I think we'll have it run nice and straight initially. We are dropping off in terms of gradient, but that's not a problem. So hopefully the tunnel is playing nice, and I think it should be because it is straight. And now we need to make some decisions as to where we want to connect into our lines over here. Now we want to make sure we can get to Carlisle and Thurrock as a minimum. Ideally we'd also like to get into Leeds, Staveley, and we can run on into Hull and Rugby through Thurrock anyway. But making sure we have access to these 4 towns and cities has got to be the priority. So I think what we're going to do is, how much space do we have there? We have a fair amount of space, so I might put a Y junction here. That way we can come on into Thurrock and we can come this way and then take the branch line to Staveley. Can we achieve something similar here? Well, not really, because we have a very limited space, but we could convert this into a Y junction as well. I apologise if the sound of a helicopter is picked up on the recording. If it isn't, then just ignore me, but I imagine it will be because it does sound to be quite low. Okay, I just left it a few minutes there to allow the helicopter to pass on by. As I was saying, we could make this junction here into a Y junction and have the connection point perhaps here, and again make a Y junction. In fact, we wouldn't need a Y junction here, because to get to Thurrock we're already coming this way, so this could just be a simple connection here, and then they can use the Y junction to head into Leeds, or of course go straight on if they're wanting to go to Carlisle, and even potentially up to Lowestoft as well, using this track here that our main line currently runs upon. So let's make a start. What do we have here? The BE46 Mirage and nothing else. So let's get our junction constructed here first of all, and we'll see about keeping this straight in terms of, or this level in terms of the gradient, not straight. Straight's not quite right. Just to give us every chance to have a decent looking crossing point here, and hopefully we can raise it up just a fraction. There we go. In fact, what if we do that and then take it back down? There, that works and it looks tidy. bit slow on the corner, but as it's only a commuter service or a local service, I'm not overly concerned by that, and they will have ample opportunity to gain some speed back after the junctions anyway. So now let's run that out. We're looking at 100 miles per hour here. Perhaps let's go a little bit straighter actually. And no, we will keep it at the same height for the time being. So that's that part taken care of. What we now need to do is get a connection in here. Now this is going to be quite tight. We can of course relocate these signals if we want to and if we have to. But let's see if we can do it without that additional step. So we can, but as we said, it is going to be quite a slow corner here. However, as I said previously, the speed of the corner at this junction isn't overly critical because we are only running local services down here and we won't have any true high-speed trains coming down this way. And even if we do have some pretty rapid trains at some point in the future, we do have plenty of chance for them to regain any lost speed after the junctions. Okay, so that's all taken care of. Now let's see what sort of connection we can get over here. It wants to provide a tunnel there, which I'm going to say no to, and instead have a bit of a cutting instead. The speed is pretty decent there. The lowest we drop to is 139. So I think everybody will be happy with that. It still ensures our trains can get some speed back after they exit the junction. So we'll connect that there. And now we'll have a second branch which heads this way with a view to put in a connection point somewhere around here or maybe over here, and then making this into a Y junction as well for access into Leeds. The other option we could do is have a junction here between these two tracks, and then the Leeds bound train could come down this way. It would be a bit of a long journey, a bit out of the way, but that would also enable us to get trains from Thurrock into Leeds. Saying that though, of course, making this a Y junction would also give us the same functionality from Thurrock, because they just head up here and then curve around. Maybe we will provide both actually, but for now we'll worry about the trains from the city of Sheffield. So let's give ourselves another junction just here where it is relatively straight. And if we go from the track that's got to cross over, first of all, we can play about with that, because this is the one that's going to cause any potential issues on the merging and the overlapping, to get my words out. So if we allow you to do that, that is completely hideous. If we have you stay level, it isn't as bad. What if we have you drop down a bit? You're going to give us a collision. Well, that... Oh, no, you're not. Well, that was weird. I didn't do anything other than move the camera. Very strange behaviour. Will that happen again if I zoom out and move with cat? Nope, it's definitely registering as a collision this time. And again, I didn't click anything there, but it suddenly decided it isn't colliding. Most bizarre. Right, let's just drop you down a little, like that. How does that look? Maybe a bit more. Ooh, that looks about right. Yeah, we'll go for that. And again, we don't want a tunnel here, so we'll opt for a cutting instead. So we'll accept that. Bring out the parallel track to run alongside. There we go. So we've got a nice junction there. And now we need to get from here up to here. So we will allow the track to determine its own height. I don't know if we'll be able to live with a cutting here, because the track does seem relatively deep. Let's see. We could do it, although we'd have to do some extensive terraforming after the fact just to blend it in a little bit. but I can live with that. We have the money to spare on the terraforming, so let's go for that. So completely destroying the pristine countryside here by doing this. Right, let's see about this then. And again, why don't we get the overlapping track first of all and see how it looks, because this is the one that causes the most problems. And that looks okay. Yep, not too many complaints with that. Now let's bring in the counterpart, and this should be straightforward because it's not overlapping, so we shouldn't have any issues here. Yep, that's perfectly acceptable. So now we have the way to get into Carlisle and beyond. What we want to do is put another junction here to allow these trains to call into Leeds if they wish. So let's position it about there, which is roughly halfway. And again, make sure we do the overlapping track first of all. And let's see if we can get a nice steady curvature on this. Yeah, that's not bad. What about the overlap? Yep, we're looking tidy at this end. And over here, no complaints. So let's quickly fill that in. Finish it off with the secondary track. There we go. Are they level? Yes, they are. Wonderful. So with that taken care of, what we want to do now is add in the additional signals that are required in and around these junctions, and then of course fill in the blocking signals for the route into Sheffield. So signals, let's mix it up this time and use 3 aspect signals here. We'll position a signal there and there and there, so that's the 3-way control on approach to that junction. Similar repeated setup over here. Now let's change to 2 aspect for this junction, just because. So there, and let's have a 4 aspect there. And again, just so it doesn't look like it's copy and pasted and it's all exactly the same. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. Now we want not that junction, this junction here. So let's have signal there, there, and there. And then we want signals here as well, so let's go signal there, there, and there. And then we want this little bit here as well, so signal, signal, and signal. Perfect. Lastly, the last junction we need to worry about is this one down here. So signal, signal, and signal. Excellent. So now all we need to do are include the blocks on this stretch here, this stretch here. Don't think we'll get any blocks in these little bits here. Probably the same story up here. No, we won't be able to fit a blocking there. But yeah, down this stretch of track and this stretch of track, and then through the tunnel on approach to Sheffield, we certainly can chuck in some blocking signals. So let's do that. And we don't have to keep these as spaced out as we ordinarily do, say, on the main line, because down here we could be having multiple trains running at some point, so having them fairly close together isn't a bad idea. And once again, just trying to vary the signal style ever so slightly, just so it isn't too much repetition. Okay, so that's that little section done. We could probably fit in one more block between here and here for the main line, so let's go ahead and do that. And let's use that signal style this time out. Okay, now we can do this stretch down here. So let's put ourselves a block here. Let's jump down the ways, swap signal style. And again, just to swap it once more, let's do another set here. And one more block just as we get closer to the junction itself. Now we can block the approach to Sheffield itself, so we'll put one there and there. We'll have a set just after the, or just before entry to the tunnel, or just after the exit of the tunnel, depending on your perspective and direction. We'll put a set there. Let's get a set there, and a final one, which will use this just there. Okay, so that's all taken care of. So what we want to do now is put in place the gantries here, and then the station signals for Sheffield itself. So let's search for the gantry just to get it up and done. So left side here first of all. Whoops, I still had the text box selected. I didn't want to put it there. That's gonna do nothing at all for anybody. Right, let's try that again, shall we? So left stand there and there. Some tanker trucks here which have no use to us because we're not running any freight. And there we go. Now let's go to the gantry signals and let's use, what is that one? It's also got a shunting signal on it. Very interesting. I guess that's similar but left side. Yeah, it is. Let's just use 2 aspect on these ones. We want these to be both directions, otherwise nothing can actually get into the station. So there and there and there and there. Wonderful. So the next thing we need to do is perhaps do some roadworks in Sheffield and then create a bus loop in Sheffield so we can get passengers in and out of the station as efficiently and quickly as possible. So let's run a line, or a road I should say, over there, demolishing that industry just there. We'll connect that one up there, and again having to remove a building to achieve that. Let's finish this one here with a curved road, and then let's make those 2 into 4-way junctions like that. And in fact let's demolish those actually, and let's make our exchange right here. So that's the wrong category. We want road vehicles, we want the bus and tram station 30 meters, and let's position it there. Configure it with the extra access point. Connect in from this new access point, maybe a curved road, just to mix it up and not looking too gridified. I'm going to sort that road out because it was climbing up a little bit and making the terrain go weird. So let's have you at the same, maintain your current height level, and your curved road, that's better. Yeah, it's still not perfect, but it's better than it was. Okay, so that's that done. So now we can have the bog standard bus and tram stations, or bus and tram stops, dotted around the city. So we'll put one there, and I'll position that one just close to where the pedestrians cross over. That's always a good idea to do. We'll put one there, so we'll stop there, come up here, stop there. We'll put one there, which doesn't have much catchment yet, but as Sheffield grows, hopefully that will change. We'll put one there, and then we'll return to our main station here, which is going to be the Sheffield bus station. Very descriptive, and very generic. Right, so next thing we want is a depot, and let's have the depot right there. Now we can set up the Sheffield bus loop with this orange sort of peach colour here. So Sheffield bus station up to Windsor Road, Church Road, Park Avenue, Kings Road, and then of course back to Sheffield bus station. So that should give us blanket coverage in Sheffield, at least for the time being, until it starts to grow. And this is the Sheffield bus loop 01. By the buses, I guess we're still on the space bus. Yes, we are. And learning the lesson from Leeds, I'm going to start with just 3. And you were that peachy sort of colour, I think. Assign you on the way. So now our passengers and residents can get around the city and into the station and away from the station. So now what we want to do is set up a few branch services that incorporate Sheffield in their running orders. I think the first one we will do will go Hull, Thurrock, Sheffield, Carlisle, because why not? So we're going to have quite a lot of services that, you know, have duplicate stations, or stations that have multiple options for passengers, if you know what I mean. That's the way it works in real life after all, so why wouldn't we replicate that? So Hull into Thurrock, into Sheffield, and maybe into Leeds actually. Yeah, and then we'll come from Leeds back to Sheffield, back to Thurrock, and into Hull. Oh, we didn't need to put Hull. There we go. So let's see, what we don't want them to do is share a platform with the main line. We already have 2 services on these platforms, so this is what I was saying in the last episode, where we might want to, in the very near future, think about expanding the amount of platforms we have at some of these stations. But to start off with, we'll just do it this way. So let's go platform 3 and then platform number 4. Sheffield should be fine because there's nothing else over here at the moment. What about Leeds? Well, Leeds, we have 2 completely empty platforms at the moment, so we may as well utilise them. You can go on to platform 3 at Leeds. Then you come back to Sheffield. Do we want to keep you on the same platform at Sheffield? Why not? And then you come back into Thurrock, which we've just done. And what are you doing down in Hull last of all? You're on an empty one, but one that is used as a backup for this line here, which is absolutely fine. So what shall we call this? The Hull Sheffield, just SHEFF to keep it short, and then Leeds branch. Why not? So let's design a train to run this. I think we'll go for 2 trains, and here we can have a look at what we unlocked last time out, and the only one of interest was this one, the RABDE 1212 Mirage, which we might use actually. Do we want to have that, or do we want to have that? I think initially we'll go for that, and I might run 3 trains down here. We can afford 3 trains, and I do have a feeling it could be quite a draw on this one. So yeah, starting with 3 is probably not a bad idea. So let's buy 3. You were that salmon sort of colour, I believe, yes. And let's put you on the way. Now I'm not sure what station you're going to opt to pick first of all, because getting to Hull is going to be a bit difficult. So you're going to Thurrock first. Well, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so that's one of the branches taken care of, and I think that's where we'll leave it for today. It's been about 25 to 30 minutes, and then of course we've got to factor in the cab rides at the end as well. Between episodes I will just attend to this terrain here, and especially down here, just to blend it all in a little bit more than the game has. What's happened? Oh no, nothing's happened there. The shadow of the trees confused me. I thought we had some jagged edges, but we don't. So yes, common sense would be to ride on one of our new trains, I think, which are, there's one there, and I think there's one in the tunnel here. So we shall do exactly that. And I think we'll go, well, Thurrock, Sheffield, let's go over to Leeds. I think that should be a nice cab ride. So let's hop on. First of all, let's not forget this time, let's pause that, then hop on board. Oops, reposition the camera to roughly in the middle, somewhere around there I think is fine. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed this episode and the series continues to be enjoyable as well. As always, a very special shout out to my Patreon supporters whose support and generosity is deeply appreciated. Thank you very much indeed. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves. It is ta-ta for now.